Hello, welcome to Accountable Love, where love is a group journey. My name's Aziz.
I'm Jerry.
And today we're going to talk about humility being a tool, not a virtue. We are all searching for stability. We are all looking for absolutes in humanity, but there are no absolutes. There's only accountable love, a love that says when you pick a partner and friend, they will show up with their daily best and you will give them your all as well. We all deserve love at its highest form. So the LoveSnobs are here to tell you, you deserve everything. You deserve a high class. So typically when we think of humility, we think, you know what I mean, we're not being arrogant.
Well, yeah, being modest. That's the first thing that comes to mind.
That's the first thing that definitely comes to mind. And they look at that as a virtue, but it's also a lie, just like arrogance. Mm-hmm. Like arrogance is a lie. It means that
it's an extreme going in the other direction.
Yeah, it's undue importance. Mm-hmm. So like when you now are modest or modest when you don't need to be, you know, like you meet them people that's, I don't know how I did on this test every time, and they get an A every time. Mm-hmm. Like it becomes arrogance. Yeah. At some point you got to say, listen, I felt well about that test. I felt like I did well on that test. And, you know, you move on. You don't have to constantly berate the point.
Well, yeah, I think we're conditioned to believe that we're supposed to be modest. We're not supposed to boast. We are supposed to wait for someone else to congratulate us. I think that that's the type of society that we live in. You know, I think that that's the thing, the households, the homes that most of us grew up in. Definitely. You know, that you had to wait for somebody to tell you were attractive. You couldn't just say, I know I'm attractive. And you couldn't say, oh, I know I'm smart. You couldn't say that. You had to wait for somebody else to acknowledge it. Then it was okay for you to agree, but that was it. Definitely.
Like, we got to be clear here. Modesty is lessening your importance. And to some degree, it's a tool. So like, when you do something wrong, you have to lessen your importance, because at that point, the person that you did something wrong to has a high importance in that scenario. Mm-hmm. Meaning that you need to humble yourself and actually apologize. Humble yourself and actually work to get back in good standings. Humble yourself and actually put the relationship first and not you first. Well, so the relationship has a high importance than you do. So therefore, you humble yourself in that regard.
Yeah, well, you know, we were talking offline, and when you said lessen yourself, your importance of yourself, that, you know, struck a chord. Because I'm like, the hell are you like, what do you mean? Like, I wasn't nasty about it, but I was just like, what do you mean lessen the importance of you? Like, what does that even? It sounds crazy.
And but people look at it and they think it's synonymous with like you're not mattering. Like, well, or everybody matters. There's a difference. Lessening your importance means that you're not as important in that scenario as the success of that scenario or as the solution of that success.
Or
scenario.
just simple as you're leading with your feelings. Definitely. And your feelings are not as important in this moment because of the goal that you're trying to accomplish. And that's how, when you said
the reality is we are feelings. We are, I'm not like saying, who we are as people, we are feelings. But what we're talking about is becoming emotionally intelligent, meaning like knowing when to use the emotion correctly so you can be progressive in your relationships.
Well, for instance, like, you know, we the way that we communicate, sometimes we say things, and when you say certain things that strike a chord, it makes you feel a certain way. Definitely. Right?
It always hits home.
And because it hits home, some people lead with that. So Definitely. That's what I meant about the feeling part of it. Like, yeah, we all gonna feel it. I can see it in
your reaction.
Yeah, we're gonna feel it.
I'm less important, and I'm like, like you go to work, and I mean, I had to explain that, like, you go to work. And you have to tell your boss your job is not as important as your kids. Mm-hmm. So if something happens with your kids, you're walking out of your job. Mm-hmm. Like, just because it's less important doesn't mean it's not important. Mm-hmm. So there's a big difference.
Or
everybody goes extreme.
Or it lessens your role in the equation. So that's what I thought too. Like when you said it, I'm like, what do you mean you're not as important? Because if we're both trying to get to a better place, right? Definitely. And I'm not really conducting myself in a rational manner, mm-hmm. then yes, at that moment, at that point, or in that scenario, I wouldn't be...
Like your emotions wouldn't be as important as what's going on with the overall plan.
But Aziz had to explain that to me, because all I heard were the words. You know, I didn't really think about what he really meant. And I was also thinking about, you know, not thinking about the I couldn't even see further than what he said.
It's because you're always looking at, like when I'm looking at it, I'm looking at a big picture. So that's why we even having this discussion about humility being a tool and not a virtue, because we carry it on like people. I'm just gonna be humble. You're not doing me a favor.
Yeah, no, that's
not doing me a favor.
It's kind of insulting when people say that.
That's what I'm saying. When you actually look at it, when you're talking to people, they come off as arrogant.
Yeah.
Like they're doing you a favor. They have so much importance that they're just gonna dial it back a little.
They're looking out for everyone else by being by
like
not
I'm
being
in the
themselves.
room, I have things to say, but I'm just gonna be humble.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. So like that's what we're looking at. We really gonna shed the light on the humble people. Like you're not doing anybody a favor. Like why don't you be genuine? Why don't you be who you are? Why don't you praise yourself when you are great at something and be honest about it when you're not?
Because
like that's what it all boils down to. Like humility, let's save it for when we're wrong. Like we can lead and say, listen, we think we're right about something. We can be passionate about something we're really right about. We can jump into something that we feel we have all the information about, or we have enough information to actually make a point, and then actually just be wrong. And then sit on it and then learn. Like there's not many of us that haven't jumped before we learned something new. Like we believed we knew something. So when we raised our hands in school, you know, we got shut down because we was actually wrong.
Well, you know,
it's okay.
I think it goes back to everyone playing it safe.
Definitely.
You know, everyone wants to play it safe. So you don't necessarily want to say, hey, I'm going to ace this exam and not really ace the exam, because although you may be confident in that moment, you don't really know what the outcome is going to be. So you're playing it safe. You're already telling yourself, if I don't do as good, I already gave myself a pass for not doing as good.
You're already giving yourself a backup plan.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that we need to encourage more people to put yourself out there, right?
Definitely.
And take that leap. And you may be wrong, but to your point, if you are wrong, then you can course correct. But if you don't put yourself out there, nobody knows where you stand. Nobody else knows what you're thinking. Nobody knows who you are when you're not really yourself and you're not really putting things out there.
Definitely. Like let everybody in on who you are. Let everybody in on your thoughts. No matter how crazy they sound, no matter how raw they sound. If somebody really cares about who you are in essence,
they'll take the time.
They're going to listen to you, right, wrong, or indifferent.
Yeah.
I'm not even saying different, right or wrong. They're going to listen to you, and then they're going to then y'all going to come to a common understanding or a common thread. Where a person says, like, when you go into relationships, and that's what we are focused on, being humble in relationships, you have to realize that you, the individual, doesn't supersede the whole. Like, you enter a friendship, who you are doesn't supersede the friendship. You shouldn't be the focal point of the friendship. Your emotions and what you go through all the time shouldn't be the focal point of a friendship. That's when it says, they tell you to be humble. Understand, like, now you being who you are is superseding our actual connection. Think about that. That's when humility plays a part. But you as the person, I'm a humble person. What?
Yeah, it's kind of whack. Like that, I think that's like one of the most misused words that we use.
Definitely.
People use in general.
Definitely.
It's not cute. It's not okay to say, you know, to not feel comfortable acknowledging the areas where you're strong in.
Definitely.
Yeah,
acknowledge it.
Yeah, and how could you really form these amazing connections with people if you're not even brave enough to say or to communicate the areas that you are strong in, right?
Definitely.
Because it's like you're the yin to my yang. Like you said, you know, we're putting all this information out there. We're doing this together. And although we have a lot of things in common, but we're different.
Yeah, yin
right?
and yang is dark and light.
Oh, you're right. So maybe what's the right?
We're
We're
not
not
yin
yin and yang.
We're not
so,
yin and yang.
but I actually used that offline. So I was just kind of using it.
Yeah?
You did.
We
don't have the footage, but
use that.
You did.
I don't use yin and yang. I'm
I
telling
don't
you,
use it
that
either, but
term.
you
I
just
try to stay away from the term because it means complete opposites.
Understood.
And we obviously talk about like-minded.
But when we were on the couch, you did use it, and I don't usually use it in my vocabulary, but it was fresh because you just said it.
Okay. We
don't have the footage, but I know.
No, there's no way. There's no way. I'm telling you that I don't use it in my vocabulary.
So then I made that up?
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Okay, well then I'll take responsibility for that.
No. Somebody else said it last night when you was hanging out chilling. And now you brought it on the set saying that I did it, but I don't even use it in my vocabulary. Well, you making it seem like I'm like the jump off, like the. I ain't say you was out there being alcoholic. I'm saying you hung out.
Anyway,
you had a later night than normal. You know what I mean? You grown, it's okay. You had your Friday off, you took advantage of it. Stop acting like you get
like I get beat. But the point is that
stop acting like you're gonna get put in the corner.
We're not all right. So we're not opposites in that way. We're
like minds.
We're like minds, but we
have different strengths.
Oh, thank you.
So we feed off of each other's. We allow us to, like, we don't allow it. We understand when you're strong, I'm not letting you lead, you're leading because you're stronger, and it makes more sense. So is it humble? Do I know in them instances I'm less important to the overall equation? Of course, because I'm going to be humble enough to say the stronger person obviously will lead that situation. So obviously they're the president, and you're not strong. You're not as important as the president in the grand scheme of things.
Well, that's why I brought it up. So in order for us to even acknowledge, in order for us to even coexist, in order for us to have the relationship that we have to have, in order for us to have the relationship that we have, we had to acknowledge those things.
Definitely.
We had to sit down and say, hey, this is my strong suit, this is what you're strong in, and then divvy up responsibilities, roles, or whatever accordingly.
And it gets tricky because there's certain things that we're both good at.
Yeah.
And then we have to kind of balance out when it's going to, when that person's going to lead, when that person's stronger in that same subject, but that person's just stronger in that particular part of the subject. So it gets a little crazy.
Yeah, that's the part
and
that I think I struggle in too.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I get why, because, you got to take more time to really think about, the people around you. So like, who are you relevant to the people around you? And that's where a lot of people, they do a lot of this self. I'm taking time to myself, but when you come back, your friends are still the same people. So you still have to integrate.
Yes. And you have to know how to, it's a skill to integrate.
Definitely.
That's the thing. Like,
togetherness is important.
Yeah,
like, humanity doesn't deal with me. It deals with us.
Yes.
Like, that's where people don't get it. Like, love is a group journey. Where we saying love is a group journey. You can't say I love anything without having a connection with the thing you love. So there has to be a togetherness, or the person you love, excuse me. It has to be a togetherness. So you think about it, you have to be humble to even enter a relationship. So you use it as a tool when necessary.
Yes.
But you lead with your strengths, and you acknowledge your weaknesses. See, there's a big difference. You don't have, I'm weak. A lot of people do that, and that's arrogance. Like, you're strong in certain things. Stop pretending to be weak in everything just to seem humble.
Well, it's a cop-out, actually. So nobody could really hold them accountable. Nobody could give them extra responsibility, because if you can't get from point A to B to C to D, I'm never sending you to the store.
Definitely.
Kids do it, right? How many times have we asked our child. We asked Camille to wash the dishes, right? In the beginning, she was all for it because that's what kids do in the beginning. And after a while, she realized it was a chore, not fun. She didn't want to necessarily play with water. And then what happens? She doesn't really wash dishes as well, right?
Definitely.
Why? Because she doesn't really want to do it. So she subconsciously, she's like, if I don't really, I'll get past this. I'll just do what I need to do.
Conscious.
Consciously, she's doing a half-assed job because she doesn't want to do it, and she knows that if she doesn't do it right, guess who's going to take over? But what we do? We make her do it until she gets it together.
Definitely.
But we don't hold adults to that same type of standard because we believe that they're adults and they should know better, so they should do better.
Or you can't mold adults.
Yes.
Or I can't. Like the biggest cop out is, I can't make nobody do something.
Yes.
Okay. We all influence people. Like, come on. We
Especially
all
if you
influence our friends. We all have some form of influence. If you don't have influence over the people that you love, is it truly love? Because then you can't prevent them from doing negative things to themselves. Then you can't prevent them from going in a situation that may be harmful. Then you can't encourage them in places that they feel they're weak, but they're really strong. You can't inspire them. Think about that.
But it's
you
only
do
when it's
influence
convenient.
your friends. So understand that. And you do influence your partners. That's a must in a relationship.
But when it comes to emotions and it comes to things like that, people stay away from it. But like you said, we influence each other in so many different ways. I buy a new lip balm, I'm telling Jasmine about it. You know what I mean? Because I believe that my lip balm that I just purchased is the best thing on the market right now, and I want to have it. You know what I mean? When it comes to material possessions, we pass on information like it's nothing.
Definitely.
But when it comes to matters of emotions and spirituality, everyone kind of takes the back seat because they don't really want to do the work.
Definitely. I mean, that is the bottom line. It is work. Like, to talk to two people about a religious structure or politics, it does take work to try to get on the same
and education
page. But people have to get elected. There has to be leaders to get elected. So you have to know information. And in your relationships, you are joining something where you're elected the president both the president of the relationship. I can't say president and vice president.
No, because you're equally vested.
So I used the wrong term or the wrong terminology or
like
wrong analogy. Yeah, like yin and yang. But you're both the president of your corporations, and y'all coming together, y'all merging. So there's two presidents, and understand when one is slacking, you're not playing your role. You get what I'm saying, and the other one has to pick it up. So you got to understand every time you cop out and play modest in something that you're strong in, you're actually being arrogant. You're actually being the exact opposite. And when you're just running around being arrogant, obviously most people are lining up to bring you back to earth.
Yeah.
So it's about confidence. And we need to know the difference. Confidence is having some humility. Confidence is having some traits that seem a little arrogant. They're not arrogant and they're not humble. They're just in the like slightly grazing those points. Wouldn't you say they like on the line? They
are teetering, and like you said, they're tools that you know how to use when you need to use them.
Definitely.
So it's not something like you shouldn't. If you're in your feelings and you're not being rational, then maybe you need to tap into the toolbox and pull out humility. You know, if you're wrong.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? And if you're
trying to open up a business and trying to do something great and you believe in yourself, but you haven't yet achieved it, then you may need a little arrogance.
Yes.
Because you can't listen to everybody telling you're not going to do it.
Yeah. Because everyone, they project and they also put their fears on you. So
definitely.
You have to at some point you have to have blinders on and kind of just like create your own lane. And if you believe in yourself and you speak it into existence, then you get there.
So as you see, Jerry just explained how humility definitely could be a tool. But when we're talking about relationships, like look the people in the face that you actually are in relationships with and sit down and have these discussions in regards to when they need to be humble as a person. Like you always meet people that do something wrong. Like you cheated on me, but you crying.
Yeah.
Like be humble. Be very humble. We understand that you feel like you cheated, you made a mistake, and you lost the person's trust. But don't try to get it back by emotionally blackmailing the person into getting it back. You have to work. It's gonna be an uphill battle. But if you really want to reach the top, you're gonna walk uphill, and they're not gonna always be feeling you.
No,
they're not gonna just trust you right off. There's gonna be some trust that you destroyed, and you have to be humble enough, meaning that your feelings in that scenario is less important than that person that's been cheated on. They just been betrayed.
But think about that. Do you believe that a person is forever indebted? So say a guy cheated on me, right? Okay. And I decided to stay with him because for whatever reason, I believe that it was a mistake, and I do believe that he'll get it together, right?
Definitely.
And it's now months or
once
years.
You believe it's a mistake and he'll get it together, you can get back with him.
No. Yeah. So I'm back with him. Okay. So now we're back together, right? Is it okay for me to still expect him to walk on the straight and narrow or kind of walk on eggshells because he cheated on me 3 years ago?
I'm not talking about walking on eggshells, but I ask this questions for the viewers. Yeah, exactly. You want to clarify. I get it, but it is to some degree you are walking on eggshells because trust is very fragile. So to some degree, you are working like you're not walking. You shouldn't be walking on eggshells because you should be as true to who you are as possible. Because if you was in a relationship, you love the person and you could actually show up.
Yes.
So it shouldn't be working on eggshells.
Okay.
But the point is, it's going to come up.
I'm
the
not saying
person's going to talk about it as frequently as they need to talk about it till they get over it, and you have to just give them answers. You got to take the time to give them answers on thought and why you did what you did. What caused you to do what you did? Like you do, they gotta wrap their mind around it because the trust
3 years later
destroyed. I mean, there's gonna obviously this time, but that's something that the other person had. Like now, once you feel like, damn, I did enough. That's you.
That's the computer.
Oh, once I did enough to like make the relationship, like I did enough to repair the relationship, and you really feel that in your heart, then I guess you got to make a decision.
Well, yeah, so
because 3 years later, I mean, after a while it becomes abuse, but let's not go that extreme. Like,
so
if you with a person 3 years later and you're still talking about something that happened 3 years ago, based on and the person showed that they repaired it, then yeah, there's obviously
some underlying issues.
Yeah.
So the reason why I brought that up is because people tend to believe that you made a mistake and I'm forever we're forever going to talk about it. And it's okay to, like you said, we should talk about it as long as we need to, right, to get past it. The one thing that I wouldn't recommend is we're all adults here, so you shouldn't still be checking his phones. Like, I shouldn't have.
Now that's the difference. Your behavior shouldn't change. You brought the person back in.
Exactly.
You have to trust that they're working to get back in good
and
grace.
that's the thing that I wanted to clear up.
That's what you're saying. Like, your behavior shouldn't become obsessive yourself.
No.
If you let the person back in, it means that
you trust him enough that
he's gonna do better. Yes. But the person's coming back in and they're on a probationary period. Like, probation. That's what people need to understand at the same time.
Probationary meaning that you're working towards building the trust back. It's still going to be but
we're not on equal playing ground or playing. We're working back to equals because I never betrayed you.
Agreed.
So you shouldn't be in reverse, like checking my phone and doing things because you cheated.
No.
So there's two sides to the
situation. But I don't think you should be. I don't think that he should be checking my phone.
No,
I should be checking his phone
should
either.
be checking phones.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, let's be clear. You shouldn't be. Like, because you cheated, now you're questioning certain things I do. Or you're trying to find out I was a hypocrite. Or you're trying to find out how I lied. Or like, be humble.
Okay.
Like, understand that you come in and you're repairing something. And the person is not participating because they didn't participate when you went out there and cheated. They're just asking questions. They're a part of the process.
But what's not I want to be very clear.
They're a part of the process. So they are participating, but they're not. Don't expect them to go back to 50-50 on that level of trust.
Okay. Of trust.
Of trust.
Okay.
50-50 on that level of trust.
So I could hold out on sex?
Could you hold out on sex? I think that would be something like, why not? Okay. You're taking the person back. That's why I always tell people, don't take them back in a relationship place. Take them back on when it comes down to, like,
let's date.
Dating.
Yeah.
We got to start back over. We got to really start from square one and see if this is a relationship we really want to be in. I'm going that route. So that's what I would advise. Mm-hmm. But anybody who jumps back into a relationship because they still say, okay, this person made a mistake and I still believe this person is the person that they are, they just made a mistake, then that would be the advice I give them. But they can hold off sex because sex was maybe a part of the cheating. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So they're not they're not in that place yet. Mm-hmm. I mean, we don't really have sex in relationships at times. You know what I mean? Where you just not in a good place.
Yeah.
So you could hold off for a principle. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't change the principle. Mm-hmm. It just says I'm going to let you in my life to repair it. Mm-hmm. Because you still believe in the person. I don't believe in you no more. You're out of my life. Once I stop believing in you, I'm done. Mm-hmm. But if I still believe in you, I want you to be in my life. There's some people that's done that I still believe in. Mm-hmm. But they didn't put forth the effort. So I had to
make a decision
from them. You see what I'm saying? So there is, I guess.
I just want to be clear because I know when it comes to matters of the heart when it comes to romantic relationships, and it's always, someone makes a major, a major decision that changes the whole dynamic of the relationship.
Definitely. Well, it's not a major selfish decision. Because there's nothing that should change the relationship that extreme without a discussion.
You're right. So they made a selfish decision mm-hmm. to step out, and it changed the relationship dramatically. And they still want to work toward being together. And I just wanted to make sure that we provided some insight on the best way to kind of get that going, because you have one person who feels betrayed, the other one who may be self-wallowing Wallowing, yeah. Yeah, self-wallow or
self-wallowing sounds funny. Just
it
wallowing,
does, right? Right.
Yeah, wallowing is self.
I was like, what?
Wallowing is
self. Yeah. Wallowing or insecure because now they're like, they believe that the other person has the upper hand because their slate is clean. Mm-hmm. So there's so many. And I'm not saying that they don't, okay. but I'm just saying, I'm just talking about the dynamics of the two people, mm-hmm. and the best way to move forward if you want to stay with a partner who betrayed your trust, and how you can go about doing that. Like you said, it shouldn't be a one conversation and done. You should be able to talk about it as long as possible. Definitely. And it shouldn't be, and you shouldn't change
you put the time limit, 3 years. So
I did. Yeah.
So it's not as long as possible.
Not as long as 3 years, but
you should be able to talk about it.
If you're still talking about it 3 years later,
as frequently as you need to do when it's first start. When you're getting back in. You're not going to really talk about anything else. You need to be talking about that and repairing that.
Yes.
Until you move on to the next phase of the relationship. So I would say you would be talking about it for like a month straight. That's going to be the topic, and then it's going to it's going to slowly. And I'm sure if the person is a reasonable person, it's gonna and a fair person is going to change over time. Mm-hmm. But you got to put in the work.
Yeah,
you got to ask questions. You got to answer questions. You got to explain.
You have to be willing.
things.
You can't think that you told the story once and that's it. You should be able to, like you said, as long as when it's freshly happened, as long as you need to get through it, to talk about it, to get through it, which is fair.
Definitely.
And you shouldn't change behaviors. You shouldn't now be checking each other's phones or doing whatever.
You should maintain who you are in essence. You should just know that when it comes to that topic, you're not on the same playing field yet. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So like that's where the humility comes in. So that's when you use humility as a tool. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't be using humility to get in with the girl or the man. Like, I'm humble. What does that mean? You get what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people don't take the time to say, what does that mean? Because how we use it is not what it really means. So when you sit back, you're like, yo, I'm humble, meaning stay humble. Meaning, I made a lot of money, maintain who I am. That's not humble, that's being genuine.
Yeah.
Because you didn't make a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So you should be clear, like you're saying, I made a lot of money. So you are letting people know that you're confident about what you did or you're confident about your achievement, and it's okay. But don't change who you are based on that.
No, and based on the
That's
people
with the
around
situation. Don't change your relationships based on making more income. Mm-hmm. Don't change your connections based on making more income. So it's the same with a relationship. The more, like you good in bed, so you was kissing her behind or you was doing your thing, and then when you actually sleep with her, now you turned out and now you changed.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. When you feel you have an upper hand, lift them up. Mm-hmm. Like, why do you now treat them less? Mm-hmm. Or like, I can do better. Like 5 seconds ago, they was just the best thing.
Yeah.
So that's where, where humility would come in. Like, understand where the other person's at. Understand that every time you accomplish something, you have to encourage accomplishment in return.
But also understand where you're at as well.
Definitely.
I think that being honest with yourself, understanding where you are, understand what you bring to the table, like those things are important.
I think that's the main point.
Yeah.
Understand who you are in the room.
Yes.
We always say, understand who you are in a relationship. We always say, understanding who you are as a person. Understand that. Understand who you are as a group. Mm-hmm. Once you join a group, you are that group. Like, you're going to be Jerry and Aziz. Mm-hmm. They're going to be Accountable Love Podcast because you joined the group. If you don't want to be a part of the group, then you don't join it because you're supposed to be all in. It's a commitment.
Yeah.
So the humility part comes in and saying, listen, I'm leaving individual at the door and I'm joining collective. I'm leaving individual at the door and I'm joining togetherness. So that supersedes me as the individual. So that's where humility comes in.
Yeah, making decisions that just don't benefit you and knowing that it's not just about you. There's gonna be times where you have to make decisions so that everyone can benefit, not just you. But it's also knowing when to lead and not to lead in a group too.
Definitely.
Because everyone brings something different to the table. Mm-hmm. So I think humility is also understanding that too. Like, who are you at the table?
Who are you in a relationship? Mm-hmm. Like, don't now go and get you this exceptional man and then you feel you're average.
Yeah.
But you get the exceptional man because you love a leader. Mm-hmm. And then now you are feel upset with him.
Yeah, because you feel less. Yeah.
Because he's a leader. Like, he's going to put you in places to succeed. Mm-hmm. You chose your leader. But once you join the relationship, 9 times out of 10, he is going to lead. Mm-hmm. You joined your leader. 9 times out of 10, she is going to lead.
Yeah.
Like, think about that. Think about the type of personalities you join. Mm-hmm. Think about the type of attributes the person has before you enter the relationship. Mm-hmm. That's also being humble. Do your research.
Yeah.
Stop believing you are enough. You're not by yourself with another person. You're not enough. As a person just walking down the street as a separate entity, you are enough. But when you join something, you aren't going to carry it by yourself. Mm-mm. So you have to understand who your partner is. You have to understand who your friend is. You have to understand, even when you walk in a bar or you walk in a job or you have to know your environment. Be humble. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's a constant. Understand that when you walk in a new place, you're a baby and you're getting the information again. Mm-hmm. That's what it's about.
Well, there's always opportunity to learn. There's always opportunity to teach. And I think that people stay away from certain things because they don't want the responsibility of it.
Definitely.
So it's like, if I know that I'm getting good grades on my test, or I know that I'm doing well in the class and you're not doing so well, but if I say I'm doing well, why wouldn't I help you?
But yeah,
or why wouldn't I?
I think it, we can say they don't want the responsibility, but when it all boils down to, there's more people that choose not to. So they just want to be in the popular group.
No, well, I think it's because they don't want to be held to a certain standard.
They don't want to be held to a certain standard. But why would you be held to? Why would you want to be held to a certain standard in the society we live in now? Why? Why? You get called a know-it-all. You get called judgmental. Yeah, you get called judgmental. What's the incentive? What's the incentive to actually get to that higher place? I mean, yeah, obviously to actually ascend and actually be accomplished, yeah, those things are great. But like what they said, it comes with a bunch more of it comes with more responsibility. But if you had the support of the people that actually watched the work and actually said, okay, if they was honest about it, and that's where I guess you was going, being humble and saying, I'm not willing to put in that work, so I'm going to follow that person because they are a leader and they was willing to put in all the work necessary. But that's not where we're at. Because if you are in the exceptional group, you have in people's minds, you have a less of an opinion when you actually should have more of an opinion because you actually are more informed.
But when I speak of more responsibility, I think of, you set a goal, and most people believe that you set goals, you keep them to yourself. You're not supposed to tell anybody for various reasons, right?
Definitely.
One reason why a lot of people keep things to themselves is because if they fall...
It's the biggest reason.
Oh,
it's the biggest reason.
If they fall
short...
Jump
out on a limb. It was the biggest reason.
If they fall short, then they don't have to answer to anybody else or explain it to anybody else. And I think that...
How do we know that? Yeah, we know that because we have done it. So we definitely know that that's the same thing. Like, damn, if I say it, I'm gonna be held accountable for it.
Which I realize with maturity, it's okay.
Definitely.
So
hold me accountable.
I remember.
Push me.
Exactly.
Push me.
I remember, the first time I ever, like when Camille was 1, when I tried to lose weight, and I didn't initially. My first thought was 12 years ago. My first thought was not to say anything. Right? You guys just gonna see me shedding pounds and like, oh, what you doing? And then, I happened to like blase past it. But I knew at that time that if I was really serious about this, then I will put it out there, because what's wrong with the people around me holding me accountable for what I signed up for? Definitely. There's nothing wrong with that. And what I realized with that
because you got if you put it out there, everybody now is focused on you, right? I'm not saying you per se, but I'm saying this is the mentality. Everybody's focused on you, and everybody else gets to play God while you are the person that's center stage.
Okay.
That's what the problem is. Not everybody wants to get on stage, but they want to criticize the actor.
But if you're achieving certain goals, what I realized was that, yes, I had my own personal goal that I was trying to achieve, but I couldn't have done it without a support team. Right?
Oh, definitely.
Because not every day I felt like counting points, or not every day, because it becomes a lot. It is tedious. And
plus you was challenged to like make it a lifestyle.
Yes.
Why are you counting?
Exactly.
Why is everything about arithmetic when you can actually just live a certain life that you want to live? Like we always talk about, if you want to eat meat, eat meat. If you want to not eat meat and be a vegetarian, but understand, make it a long-term process. Make sure that it's something that you want to do. Listen, I'm only going to eat, like as you get older, and let's be clear here, as you get older, like you realize the teacher that was the hardest on you was the one that cared the most.
Yeah.
And the teacher that was the coolest really didn't care about your long-term gain. They just worried about how they looked and they're standing in the school.
Yes.
So you also realize that, this idea that, don't put yourself out there. It just stems from the fact that your sun is so bright that I should dim your sun because I'm too afraid to show my sun. Like we all should be basking in the glory. We all should have sun. We all have the ability. We all wasn't blessed with the same talent.
Yeah. Like
the cameraman is not the person on stage, but they're a part of what's going on.
Absolutely. They're part of the project.
The person that's a director, they're not the actor, but they're the director. They're behind the camera. Or they're dictating what goes on, and I'm not going to use dictating, but they're organizing everything. And There's just so many things, and everybody can't be the president, everybody can't be the director, and everybody can't be the actor, but we all serve a greater purpose for the greater good, right? So when you look at a relationship, everything's the same. Everything does connect. When you talk to people, it's not that serious. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
What's more serious than your relationship being in a good standing and being equal? And that's going to take communication. That's going to take a lot of that's not that serious. Discussions. Like, why are you eating that food? Be humble. The person asks you a question. If you can't answer it, don't get frustrated. Dive in. Go deeper. If you can answer it, it's going to be really quick, and then you're going to answer it, and then they're going to move on. So it's really not them making it deep. It's you making it deep because you don't have an answer.
Well, yeah, people, I think they get defensive, and they go to this really weird place, and instead of admitting, being humble, that they don't really have the answer, they get all bent out of shape. Like, why are you even asking me this question?
It's not that serious.
Yeah.
Like, they do these quick phrases. It's we don't have to go there. That's how you always tell when a person's painted in a corner.
Yeah,
why are we even doing this?
Yeah.
Like, because people that care actually fight for their relationship. That's why you do it. When we look at something, we have questions. So we ask the question. And sometimes even when you question it, there's a deeper understanding because they're looking at you like, why would you ever question this about me?
Yeah, that's
you might have to go there because you do have the question, but you probably shouldn't have the question because they've been consistent. So there's just so much that deals with relationships that people shy away from. And then they're just living 10, 15 years, and half of it has been not really knowing their partner. Half of it has been running away from controversy. Half of it has been not really merging. Half of it has been walking parallel and just saying we have kids. We have a mortgage. We have cars.
But they're like roommates
we have
at
jobs.
this point. Yeah.
We're building our life together. What's bigger than actually building and merging together? What's bigger than that? But not many people are invested in the group. They're invested in me.
Yeah, and what they kind of get out of it and what they can get from a situation.
So humble people, are you really worried about the environment, your teammates, or you worrying about you and how you look?
Yeah.
That's the big question. That's what we have to ask. We have to ask everybody. When you're saying, okay, that person's arrogant, where are you coming from? You have to prove arrogance, just like I got to prove humility.
And it's like proof arrogance. Like, is he or she wrong about what they're saying?
Definitely.
Are you not the best basketball player on the team?
Definitely. Because if you are,
then
it's not arrogance.
It's okay.
It's truth. That's what the point is. Like, arrogance is basically a lie.
Yeah.
It's basically unwarranted importance or undue importance. You didn't earn it.
But having confidence in a certain area.
It's different.
Yes.
It's different.
And it should be allowed. And I think that we should promote that a lot more. I think that's not promoted enough.
Definitely.
Everyone wants to, like you said, take the back seat or not really put everything out there because they're afraid of making somebody else feel uncomfortable.
We're scared to be the villain. We're scared to be the villain. But sometimes the villain is just because a bunch of people thought they were the villain. Meaning a bunch of people never experienced it before. They're aliens. They're not villains. They're actually aliens. And they don't understand them. But then time goes by and they really understand them and they see, they wasn't really the problem. We were. We were closed. You see what I'm saying? So like you look at that, just like I can go back to like, you're playing basketball. Somebody's getting the better of you and they're talking to you. You don't just say, oh, they're arrogant.
Yeah.
They're talking to you because they're getting the better of you. So it's reality. They are getting the better of you. And it's up to you to step up to the challenge and look them in the face and take all of that, let's say, aggression you might have from them actually getting the better of you.
And put in the work.
Go back at them. But when we feel helpless, we start labeling people. And like labeling people incorrectly because we could label them if it's correct. But we start labeling them incorrectly. And when you have the ability to label somebody incorrectly, what does that make you? Are you humble?
Nope.
Are you humble? What does that say about you? Who are you to label another person?
Yeah. Arrogant.
Like we all should be able to label somebody. Just do it correctly. We all should be able to judge a person. Just don't prejudge.
Yes.
Get all information. Be accurate. And accuracy in humanity doesn't mean that the person is that way 100% of the time.
No.
When a person is late a lot, they're a person that is late. They're not punctual.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that they never been on time, but that's how people sway it back. They go extreme. When I say, she's not as good looking as her, she's not ugly.
You hear ugly, yeah.
That's what I said. You're good. She's good looking. We already acknowledge you're good looking. You're just not as good looking as this good looking person.
Yeah.
You're both good looking. That's what I'm saying. Like, stop hearing the extreme and stop making extreme out of it. It's not that serious. That's extreme. Because it's obviously serious to that person. That's why they brought it up. So who are you to belittle that person's feelings? Think about that. Before you start saying who are they to ask the question. Who are you to belittle the fact that they can't ask the question?
Yeah.
Then it gets to this big philosophy thing when you can just answer the question. Why? Because they decided how they asked the question, so they decided the level of engagement. So think about this. Think about what humility means.
And when you're using it and why you're using it. And I think that that's really important. I think people are so, the first thing that they take out the toolbox is emotion, you know what I mean? And a feeling, instead of really thinking logically about it and thinking, okay, I have all these tools, which is the one that I should be going for first.
Definitely. And if humility is the tool, use the tool. Because humility, again, is a tool, not a virtue.
Yes.
And please don't use it as a weapon.
Nope. It's abusive, actually.
Definitely. So, this has been Accountable Love. We've been talking about humility. We enjoyed it. Keep watching. We really appreciate all the viewers, everybody that's reached out and told us we're doing a great job.
Thank you for all the comments and the likes and the shares. And thank you for streaming us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and even visiting our website. We really appreciate it.
Definitely. We're not unappreciative just because we're love snobs. We just believe love is a high standard.
Yeah.
All right. My name's Aziz.
I'm Jerry.
And this is Accountable Love.
Oops.